All right. No Spot Motivation, episode 20. Sacrifice. The weight you carry today is the strength they stand on tomorrow. So everybody deals with sacrifice, right? It's part of life. We don't get to just do whatever we want all the time. Maybe a very minuscule amount of people do. But to create the time flexibility that's ideal for one's life comes with sacrifice. You work your way to the top. You work your way to a level of flexibility, to an avenue that provides you a trajectory to fulfillment that is valuable to you, a life of value, right? I don't think this idea is more prominent than that of a parent, a good parent. Some parents just keep doing what they want to do as if they don't have a kid, but that's few and far between. For me, I would lay down in traffic for my kid and not even ask why. That's what I view as what a parent should be. I wouldn't be ideal, it wouldn't be helpful any longer. However, that's the level of sacrifice I'm willing to lay out to take care of my son the best I'm able. And most of my life has been this. I was married for 11 years. We were together for 14. I've been at the job I'm currently at for almost 13 years. And that entire time I've been at that job, my ex-wife, I'm also divorced, my ex-wife had physical health, she had health issues. And when I started that job, she was unable to work. And that leapfrogged into her becoming pregnant and my son being born. So from the moment I started this job until our, not completely through our divorce, but for the most part of my son's formative years, I was single-handedly supporting our family financially. That is not to dismiss the work of a mother. A stay-at-home mom is working, they're just not earning money. Very big distinction. That's a lot of work. It's also a lot of work. So it was a shared responsibility and sacrifice. She sacrificed sleep, as did I, but she really did. And I sacrificed time with my son so that I could keep the roof up, keep food on the table, have some other experiences, try my best to make sure that her or my son didn't go without. Those sacrifices have a big price tag. That time I lost with my son is time I'm not going to get back. Can't buy it. You can buy future time. You can buy that flexibility in those sacrifices while you're working towards a goal and a certain trajectory. You can't go backwards. And that's okay. This was a mutual discussion. He was not a surprise. It was very, very planned. And within that conversation, it was that I'm going to have to work a lot. I'm going to have to take the overtime I can get so that you're able to stay home with him and we don't have to bounce him back from a daycare and have somebody else raise our child. Very Leave It to Beaver like. And I'm very grateful I was able to provide that for the time I was able to. But what I didn't realize and know was what became a little overtime became a lot. When my son was 3 and 4, I took 2 days off a month. I work a full 7-day week, and then 6, and I have 1 day off so that I could spend some time with my family. And from time to time, I'd be off early enough to at least be home and see him for a bit. But most of the time, most of his childhood, I left before either of them were awake, and I came home and they were asleep because I was getting every minute I could to still work towards a goal of ultimately buying a house, which we did, and making sure the trips to whatever experience we were trying to do, Sonoma Train Town maybe, or the circus, things kids like to do, children's museum, and whatever it is, and the disposable income, so to speak, to access those experiences. That wasn't what I had in mind when we had that discussion about my having to work so much. And within that process, I also lost my identity. I sacrificed my identity and became just a father and a husband, in that order. So a tension grew in that sacrifice because we had an idea, but neither of us really knew what we were signing up for. And I'd come home, I was grumpy, exhausted, obliterated. Obliterated. I didn't have much left to give to her or my son, which is its own frustration. You're sacrificing your time and your energy in a pursuit to free up the time that you want so you can spend it with the people that you're working so hard for. But you can't be in two places at one time. It's a very dichotomous struggle in that sacrifice. So what ended up happening was, in losing myself in that process, when we ultimately got divorced, I didn't know who I was. I'd sacrificed my identity in the process to be everything I could for other people, when you have to be your best self so you can be your best self for the people around you. Put the oxygen mask on yourself first, right? That's the analogy the plane uses, but that's the analogy most motivational ideas will be. Because if you're not taking care of yourself, you can't take care of somebody else. But it's ultimately a consequence of the unconditional love you're wanting, me wanting to provide my child, because that time I have left over, I still gave. Whatever I was giving all my time to a goal to benefit him ultimately. If that was utilized as properly as it could have been, well, that remains to be seen. That's subjective. But I would have friends at work that were like, "Come on, have a beer. Let's go out and do something." No, I don't want to. And they thought I was, under some spell at home, pussy whipped, basically, which I wasn't. That wasn't a sacrifice to me. All I wanted to do was spend time with them. So whenever I had a free moment, that's what I did. I wasn't willing to make any further sacrifice in that time, even if it was probably in a way to be that better person so I could be better for them. And once in a blue moon, maybe I would do that. But I didn't want to. It wasn't at a request to not do so. But then you get exhausted, right? Burnout is real, but so is regret. So make sure the pain is building something. And I think I did do that. And I continued to do that. The idea that there's some timeline on being a parent is, well, it was never divulged to me. It doesn't seem to be in the parenting books, but that's a lifelong deal. Your life will change permanently forever. And within that is a level of sacrifice that you probably didn't know you were capable of. And ultimately, it's a capability, it's a level that you would prefer to not have. So when you have this remaining time, you do anything. I mentioned it a few episodes ago. I've been watching Lost with my son. He wanted to watch Lost. I know, we're like 15 years behind or something, 2011, 14. We're 14 years behind. Whatever. We didn't really miss anything, but he likes it. And that's how we spend time together. And it's so stupid. I have to digress for a moment. One of the main characters is John Locke. John Locke is a philosopher from the 1700s. He's a father of enlightenment. And this guy's like the guiding force, the enlightened one. He's John Locke. Okay. Then they turn it into some time travel world. And there's a physicist named Daniel Faraday, and his mom's name is Eloise Hawking. Oh, you mean like Stephen Hawking, who wrote A Brief History of Time, who perfected Einstein's theory of relativity and expanded it and contradicted it in certain ways, found the flaws? You mean like arguably, aside from Einstein, the most famous physicist that's ever lived? That's her name? Okay. Point is, you sacrifice your time to do these sort of stupid things, right? There are things you wouldn't do of your own volition otherwise. Nobody's sitting around watching Baby Shark on repeat 8 million times. Or I'm a gummy bear. Not too many adults are trotting off to a Disney on Ice spectacle, which I guess is fun in its own way. But sure, there's the adults that walk around with their Mickey Mouse jackets and in life. All right, you like Disney or Fantasy World. Okay. The point being, you do these things in the interest of your kid. You go to some kid's movie, you go to a Raffi concert, maybe, Raffi, Baby Beluga, and Wheels on the Bus. You watch a concert, and there's all these kids screaming for singing along to these songs. You got to sing along to the songs. So it's a constant sacrifice. But that doesn't mean it's in a bad way, because you're showing up. And actions speak louder than words. So in those actions, you can leave a legacy of lessons in the sacrifice, that these actions are not about money. They're not about fame. It's about showing the love that you have includes giving up your life for theirs. That level of unconditional love. There's not even a condition that I would stay alive longer and not make this sacrifice. Those things need to be analogized properly. But the buildup is very challenging. I wonder at times if there's a better way to facilitate that idea, because there is this societal expectation, and evolutionarily at the same time, men are providers. When we were cavemen, we go out and kill the woolly mammoth and chop it up, and that's what we'd eat. And women would watch the kids and pick some berries and make baskets. And okay, but you're to do that without complaining, without being a burden. And then, since you can't be in two places at one time, you're still expected to be. That there's an energy drain where you have nothing left. Your soul has been sucked out, but you still have to keep giving. So you're sacrificing your time and your energy. You're sacrificing all that you are, you're sacrificing your soul. But it's for the people you love. It has a purpose. It's not sacrificing aimlessly. So within all of these ideas, I mean, it's not like someone had a gun to my head. This was a choice I was making and what to do with my time. I could have found an alternative career, perhaps. There's other things, but that is what was allowing that provision to be provided. So I lead by example. Even though you don't think your kids are watching, they're always watching. They're watching everything you do, everything you say, every mannerism you make, every groan of a disapproval that you might be trying to disguise. They know. So they also know that This is a form of showing love in this, essentially, in a sense. So you're sitting in the traffic, you're sleeping at work because you can't really sleep at home. If you can, if you're allowed to, if you have a break, you can take a nap on your lunch or something. But you work yourself to the bone. In my case, I don't know. In anyone's case, it's not even a conceptualization. You literally work your ass off. In my line of work, that happens literally. It's a lot of sitting. Anything where you're sitting a lot, you can then literally work your ass off. Start having, gluteus maximus strains and issues of whatever kind. Back stuff. You're sitting. We're not supposed to be sitting for long durations. We're supposed to be moving around. But most jobs, office jobs, driving jobs, it's between standing all day as a cashier at a grocery store or Starbucks, any coffee shop, or sitting all the time. The latter being the better choice. If you can stand all the time, it's still going to wear on your body, but in a better way, in a more natural form. That's not the point. But you're sacrificing that, right? You're sacrificing your health. You're sacrificing your time. You're sacrificing your energy. You're giving up your life. So it does suck, the silent story of fathers, but also working mothers, single mothers. There's no difference. Or in the reverse role, there's many households where woman's the breadwinner. I don't know if there's a lot of stay-at-home dads, but they might have a lesser job. I had a friend growing up. His dad was a mechanic. He was off at noon every day. I think he worked like, I don't think he started at 4 in the morning, but 6 to 12 or something. He was off at noon. He'd pick them up from school every day, and their mom worked till 5:30, 6 o'clock, like most people. So there's that adjustment as well. But these things are then met without an award ceremony, without a round of applause. It's the expectation to bear that burden. Don't be a burden, bear the burden. And I think that becomes a very counterproductive focal point for life, because there's no way to be the best person, the best version of you for the people around you with that as an expectation. And it was definitely how I felt. There was other ways, I'd get a lot of texts, my hardworking hubby, this kind of stuff. That kept me going. That was nice. Make my lunches, I didn't have, the house was clean. There wasn't much to do but try to be present, but there's not much energy to be present once you return. But it was also met with nothing being good enough. It doesn't matter. I could have worked 27 hours a day. We still wouldn't have had enough money. Anytime I would ask, like, oh, do you think, do I have to work this extra day? Like, we're going to be all right? Like, we could really use the money. All right. Never, not once did I not do that. Every single time. That was like, it'd probably be, if you can, I mean, it's still, again, not a gun to the head, but it was like, yeah, I mean, if you can dig deep, that would be ideal. So hopefully what ends up happening is that these actions echo forward. What you as you carry your weight with pride, you do so that someday your child will be able to carry the world because you chose to carry them. You gave them that foundation in strength and knowing that they're going to have to make their own sacrifices. But if they persist at that and they persevere more so, there will be a positive result. There will be reward in a goal. So try to choose your sacrifices wisely. Make them as you need to, make them when they present themselves in your life, but try not to let them define you. Where in my case, as I said, I became a father and a husband, and after the divorce, I didn't know who I was. That's all I'd been for 13 years. I had to refine myself. I had to go soul surfing at Nazaré, right into the toe in. No little wimpy waves, no paddling. No, no, no. We're going right into the shit. Big boy stuff. Thrown back into life. So you want to make sure that within that sacrifice, you keep a balance within yourself, not just a work-life balance, but a spiritual balance. So when hopefully that outcome doesn't become the same for you, but it might. It's common. It happens to most people. 60% of divorces end in marriages end in divorce. Rather, you're not left in another struggle trying to sacrifice what remains of you to regain traction to get to the next sacrifice and be able to shoulder the next struggle. So remember that your actions ultimately will be the strength that your child carries. I think there's a lot of hope in that. I think there's a lot of energy to find when you feel you're depleted, that they'll know because you chose to carry them, that they can find a way to carry themselves as you age and your strength decreases and eventually you're not around. You've created a functional human being. You've let the bird be able to fly from the nest. Choose those sacrifices wisely, but also make them without expectation. Have a good night.